Everybody, let me see here. I'll just switch off the got it sign here. Welcome everybody, and welcome everybody online. My name is Alain Barker, and I wanted to welcome you to this week's celebration of service for August 9th. I'm very honored to be here today. Today's a very special day for a number of reasons, and I just wanted to thank you all for being here and to see the new faces of friends that have been out there in the summer and you've returned. So it's really great to see you all. Before we start, I'd like to hold a moment of silence as we remember our dear friend, Owen Johnson, who passed away over the weekend. He obviously is very, very dear to us all, so let's just spend a while thinking about him. Thank you so much, and you may be seated. We'll be sharing information about a celebration of Owen's life as well as we hear about it. I want to thank both past President Ashley Wesley and then incoming President next year, Ron Barnes, for so capably handling the weekly celebration over the last 2 weeks. It was great to have them here with us, enabling me to travel to Cape Cod to be with my family. And as some of you already know, it included an impromptu lunch with our wonderful friend and fellow Rotarian Raj Hedawi in Chatham. It was something I completely did not expect, and it was wonderful. I was also able to have lunch with Sylvia McNair in Provincetown, and as some of you know, Sylvia will be the MC for the Rotary Toast later on this year, November 4th, during which we will celebrate Gladys Devane. So it feels like it was a wonderful trip and also a nice Rotary moment all the way through for me. Hank Walter, would you like to come up and introduce our guests? Thank you.
Thanks, Alain. All of our guests today, I believe, are here in honor and memory of Judge Kellum. So rather than calling out individual members, I just want to recognize that. Among our guests today in person, former club member Tony Stonger, Aaron Dobrin, Maria McKinley, George Thompson, Francie Hill, Father Tom Kovach, Katie Kellums Reed, Judge Kellum's daughter, Ryan Reed, and Judge Mary Ellen Dekoff. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Hank, and once again, welcome to you all. It's wonderful to have you with us. Well, we'll move on to the next part of our program today, and I'm going to invite retired Judge Francie Hill to come up to the podium and say a few words about retired Judge Mark Kellums. Thank you.
Yeah. I feel so spry and young. I just hopped right up there like that was no problem. I'd be paying for that for a week. So we got the sound right. What a pleasure to be back at the club, to see everybody. And what a blessing it has been to me to have this opportunity with you. So without further ado, let me tell you first, for all of those there, that this is not a eulogy for tears. And if you start with that, it'll be a hard time for me. This is not a eulogy to list every single thing this great man did. This is a eulogy to celebrate the joy, the love, the caring, the service, the family and friends of Mark Kellums, a life force that has not ended, but lives on. Although I'm not going to list all the accomplishments, I'm just going to give you the big hunks here. Mark was born in Bloomington, May 4th, 1949. Pretty cute guy, wouldn't you say? He went to U School, which we're not going to hold against him. He served in the Navy. He dated his sweetheart, Christina, who most of us call Chris, and they wed. He graduated from IU Law School with fellow law student Joe O'Connor, also very cute. Mark had two more beautiful girls, making it a full house with Amy, the eldest, Sarah next, and Katie, the baby. I know I've gone, I went straight. There they all are. You can see Amy, Sarah, and baby Katie. I'm sure the house was always aflutter with these three talented ladies growing up. Mark was appointed the juvenile referee by Judge Dixon and then later the Monroe County Circuit Court judge, where he served for 38 years. Mark mentored me when I replaced him as the new juvenile referee. He was always there to mentor and encourage with a positive word. And believe me, I needed a lot of mentoring in the beginning. As judge, Mark did every type of case: small claims, property disputes, fight over who gets the dog in the divorce, car accidents, major civil litigation, but he eventually focused solely on the criminal court. Judge Mary Ellen Dekoff recently told me that Mark sometimes called the person before him in criminal court pal. It was not intended to be flippant or disrespectful, but to encourage and to show he personally cared. Mark did not skimp on the law. His primary responsibility was to protect the public, but I quote him in saying about his job as a criminal judge, "If I can help somebody become a better person, then they're better off, their family is better off, and we as a community are better off." For Mark, justice required caring. Mark dished out lots of helping hands as a judge, lawyer, and a plain old citizen. Here's just a few. Mark was the chief judge of the Monroe Circuit Court for multiple terms, leading the judges to administrate the court's probation, a federal mandate to reduce jail population. It is often said that leading a group of judges is like herding cats. Not an easy job. Mark worked tirelessly with community leaders like our Charlotte Zitlow, along with many others, and Judge Todd. They coordinated the efforts in the creation of the Justice Building. Mark trained up 42 years worth of young lawyers in his trial advocacy class, alongside or in competition with Professor Alex Tanford. Mark was president of the Bloomington Hospital Foundation for eons. And one of my favorites, Mark was a loyal and active Rotarian. Among other things, Mark organized our Rotary Christmas bell ringing for the Salvation Army year after year, sort of a thankless job. Mark still serves as an inspiration to Steve Moberly, who took over that task. At Mark's retirement from full-time judging in 2018, although he kept senior judging long after that, Mark accepted the position as coordinator of corrections ministries for the Catholic Archdiocese, reaching out to prison inmates with a message of hope and faith. Faith, of course, leads me to the other half of Mark, faith. Mark could walk the talk. Judging and faith were not separate from Mark, but merged. As our noted journalist Laura Lane so well quoted Mark, people of faith rely on their God for guidance as they go about their lives. Many of us look to God for the wisdom necessary to do our jobs. Our Indiana Chief Justice Loretta Rush talked to me in glowing terms about Mark's balance of faith and judging, and the way Mark impacted so many other judges through his invocations and teaching at educational programs, volunteer mentoring of troubled lawyers, and his beautiful smile. There is so much to tell about Mark's faith, so I'm just going to hit the highlights. In 2008, Mark was ordained in the first class of permanent deacons for the Indiana Archdiocese. He was a skilled homilist. That's a preacher in layman's terms. He could boil down a sermon to 10 minutes that had you thinking all night about how you might need to be running your own life a little differently, or encouraging you when all seemed bleak. I know that Father Tom Kovich could tell you so many more things about his faith walk. He became a deacon. He officiated or assisted at countless weddings. He sent many young and not so young couples on their way of marital bliss. But I think if Mark could tell you his greatest accomplishment, he would say his family. He loved them like nobody's business. Father Bill Stumpf, now Monsignor, reminded me of the eulogy Mark gave at his eldest daughter's funeral in 2009. Mark's love for Amy and his courage to reach out to others with a sermon of hope and faith in his own time of sorrow was unequaled. But the times of sorrow were offset by all the love and fun in the Kellums family. Mark could not have been more proud of daughters Amy, Sarah, and Katie. And you could see the sparkle in his eye when he got together with Katie and Sarah. He loved his grandchildren. Every year he would tell me about their trips to Cape May, and he knew what was going on in each grandchild's school and activities. But boy, Mark loved his wife, Chris, of 53 years of marriage. Chris and Mark worked as a unit, two strong people with lots of opinions. Do you suppose they butted heads occasionally? A friend recently confided that getting Chris back to her town was one of Mark's reasons for the planned move back to Bloomington next summer. Let me close with the essence of Mark: joy. He radiated joy, and he made others joyful. He was a good listener. You had a problem, he listened. I attended a funeral a few years ago of one of my dearest friends. Multiple attendees at the funeral stood up during the sharing to say that the decedent was his best friend. And that's how Mark was. He made so many of us feel like a best friend. He kept in touch. He helped if you needed something. He jumped up with a huge hug whenever he saw you at the Uptown. You were the center of his attention. He was the best friend through and through. Mark, if you are listening up there, and I know you're busy reconnecting with Amy and your parents and chatting up all those friends up there, I hope you don't get a big head over all the impressive stuff. So let me offer a postscript with a little humor, Mark. First of all, we all know that you love chocolate. You probably ate too much and you left your wrappers all over. Second, you could tell a good joke and love to laugh. You were a great smiler. And last, although many would say that you were a man's man, you most certainly were in touch with your feminine side. You could gossip with the best of us. Never mean spirit, but oh, so fun. So will you all join me with a toast? Mark, your energy of goodness, joy, and love are a surviving life force. As so aptly written by your family for the newspaper, I now quote of them saying of you, as a strong man of faith, we know you are looking down on all of us, telling everyone it's not goodbye, but rather it's until we meet again. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Francie. That was really quite amazing and wonderful. I didn't know Mark, but I've heard so many incredible things about him and know that his spirit will rest in us for many, many years to come. So thank you so much. Switching gears, I have a few club updates that I'd like to just mention here. First of all, just a technical thing about emails. Be sure to check your junk mail folder. For some reason, DACDB has decided to send emails to the wrong place over the last week. So we just want to be sure that you're all aware of that. An update to the Teachers Warehouse drive, which was absolutely fantastic. Once again, thank you so much to everybody who volunteered for that really spectacular event. We have some numbers to share, which I got from Sarah this morning. Supplies amounted to 21,792. There was cash of 2,103, with a grand total of more than 23,000. In addition to that, the 100 Women Who Care came together this past week and have also decided to contribute a sizable amount to Teachers Warehouse. So thank you and congratulations to everybody involved in that project. And if you'd like to have a little more Teachers Warehouse in your life, there's the Teachers Warehouse golf outing on Wednesday, August 24th. There will be complete information in the roundabout for you, but just to give you a heads up that that's happening, they're looking for both volunteers and participants. Rotary Youth Exchange is back. I know many of you have enjoyed the Rotary Youth Exchange over the years. When I was at the International Convention, I heard from a lot of Rotarians who were very excited and proud about what they're going to be doing this coming year and beyond with this Rotary Exchange. So as a club, it would be fabulous to see us get involved in that program once again. And I'm happy to say that Joy Harder has decided to step up to the plate and will be helping us coordinate that. So if you're interested in getting involved in the Rotary Exchange, please make contact with Joy Harder. In fact, talking about Joy, I think that there are a number of guests online that we didn't acknowledge. Joy, did you want to quickly step in and mention them?
Sure, Alon. We have 11 or 12 guests. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm hearing my own echo, which is freaking me out. Okay. I want to welcome, I'll just not mention everyone, but go ahead and welcome those that are here in memory of Mark Kellums, and I echo the beautiful, beautiful tribute that you paid, Francie. It's so lovely. Craig Davis, who is an owner of Davis Academy of Music, is joining us this afternoon. Welcome to Craig. And a few others who are here, I am sure, to hear our guest speaker talk about what she's going to talk about. So thank you to everyone who's joining us on Zoom this afternoon.
Thanks, Joe. And once again, welcome everybody online. It's great to have you with us. Okay, we have birthdays. Lawrence Snyder has a birthday today. Is that right? Happy birthday. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing part of your day with us. That's very special. Kenneth Sparks, likewise, is August 11th. Member anniversaries. And I should just let you know that when I was preparing today, I confused wedding anniversaries with Rotary anniversaries. So I'm glad that I got that corrected before this meeting. We've got Steve Engel, 11 years, 10 years with our club. Congratulations. And Megan Neese, 6 years. Congratulations to you both. I don't know if, let me see here. Sorry, turning the page here. Clara Stanley, she's not with us, but I know that she wanted to mention that the Brown County Fest, the Chamber Music Festival that's happening in Brown County is happening in August. It's a really fabulous project, and we have actually supported them individually as well. A number of members of the Rotary Club have supported that organization. So just a heads up of a fabulous, fabulous project happening in Brown County later on this month. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Michael Shermis, the amazing technical wizard that we have with us. This is definitely service above self, so thank you, Michael. Joy Harder, likewise, for helping us online, always. Hank Walter for greeting and introducing our guests. And Sarah Laughlin, thank you so much for doing the roundabout. Liz Irwin, likewise, also thank you so much for welcoming everybody today. Okay, so we'll move on to our program for the day. Connie Shakaris, would you like to come up and introduce our guest? Thank you.
Thank you, President Alan. Last Friday afternoon, Owen Johnson and I were making each other laugh with our emails. He must have died shortly afterward. He was Gus's friend and my fellow program committee member, always ready with new and usable ideas. Our speaker today, Jillian Rich, will tell us a little bit about how our pets can offer comfort during tragedy. Mannered Mutts Training is Jillian's business, which she founded in 2018. She was 23. She is also executive director of a rescue nonprofit founded in 2019. The organization's names are similar, but her business is separate from her nonprofit. Who has had dogs? Who has owned or wanted to own a business? Well, you will be intrigued today. Jillian Rich saved my marriage. Almost. Gus was not a dog person. Jillian Rich saved my skin, our dog's bite. There is only one thing that I would change about Jillian Rich. Her bumper sticker, which says, "All my kids have paws." As of this coming winter, at least one of her kids will have hands. Fellow Rotarians and guests, I give you Jillian Rich.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Connie, for introducing me and for inviting me and having me here at the Bloomington Rotary Club today. I'm very excited to be here and been able to meet some of your very kind members today and for feeding me lunch. So thank you very much. Very generous of you. So Connie already introduced me, but again, my name is Jillian Rich, and again, I'm the owner of Mutts Training LLC, a successful dog training business in Bloomington, Indiana, and also the executive director of Mutts Rescue. I am a wife, a dog mom of 3, and yes, I am expecting this winter. I'm very excited about that. We're expecting a baby girl. And I am here to talk to you guys today about how I bootstrapped my business at 23 and some of the lessons that I learned during the global pandemic. I am 27 years old. I started Mutts Training in July of 2018 when I was 23. I started it very part-time when I was getting into it. I had a full-time job at the time where I was working for another kennel, a 9-to-5 type job. And in the beginning, I had a limited amount of services that I was able to offer. I was offering private lessons. I was doing behavioral consultations and evaluations. And I was generating a lot of the leads that I was getting for training were leads that I was getting from a pay-for-lead service. I was using Thumbtack at the time, where I was paying typically between $1 to $20 for a lead. And then I was meeting with those clients and I was turning that into paying training clients. And it was very busy. If you can imagine, in the mornings before I would go off to work at the kennel, I was answering phone calls and emails. Sometimes I was fitting in little puppy lessons in the morning, and then I was going to work till 5. And then in the evenings, I was meeting with more lesson clients. And then on the weekends, I was filling up my days with private lessons. So I was working very long hours, working 7 days a week for quite a while. And eventually, I noticed that things kind of started to snowball for me. All of a sudden, when I was meeting with people, they were telling me that they had reached out for training because they had heard about me from their friends and from word of mouth. And that was a huge change that was happening. And so I was able to move away from having to pay for my leads, and stuff just snowballed from there into me having almost more business that I could really handle at that time. Things were really successful because what I was offering seemed to be, there was like a gap in the market. I was offering a very personalized training type of service that you weren't really seeing around, and people really liked the style and what I was bringing to it. And so I was finding some success with that. It was, like I said, it was really difficult to balance my other job with the business that I was working on creating at the time. So I was working very long hours. I really had to plan, honestly, months in advance if I wanted to take a single day off at the time, because I didn't want to say no to anyone. Everyone who was contacting me, I wanted to be able to help them right then. I didn't want them to go somewhere else. And so I was becoming very flexible and very, maybe a little overly accommodating during that time, because I really didn't want to lose any of the clientele. I was very passionate about trying to make this business work. So within about 6 months of starting my business part-time, it became clear that I had filled up basically every single slot that I had during the day without going insane. And I didn't really have the ability to experience more growth for my business without cutting something. So I made the cut. I quit my job, my full-time job. It was really scary to go from that, and just hoping that the amount of clients that I seemed to be getting was going to continue to grow as I had more time for more. And that's exactly what happened. I was able to make more time for my clients. I was able to fill my days doing that. And I was really, really enjoying that, investing fully growing into my business. And I was able to do so during this time because it was very inexpensive for me to operate my business. So I was basically operating it entirely out of my home, or going to my client's home and doing lessons at that time, or meeting at a public park. I really didn't have any major expenses other than paying for my LLC and buying training treats for my business at the time. So I was able to keep my overhead costs fairly low, which allowed me, I think, to grow a lot during my business because I was able to do that for so long. Anyways, around February of 2019 was around the time that I was doing this full time. And as my business started to grow its reputation, I began getting asked to help different shelters with their dogs with behavioral issues. I was getting calls from people who were at their wits' end. They were no longer really looking for training, but they needed to get rid of their dog and they wanted to do it now. And I remember one day that is very memorable for me was the day I was out walking one of my client dogs, working on leash walking or something, and I got a call from a kennel nearby, and they were calling to tell me that they had just had a dog, a little herding breed mix that was surrendered to their kennel, and she had a history of using some aggression with their staff, and it seemed like a lot of that was very fear-based because the owners admitted to their frustration when the dog would not comply with training despite them hitting with a yardstick over and over again. So very, very sad. And so I heard that and I was just thinking, this dog is not going to be able to handle going to the shelter. It's going to be too much. And this dog, I don't want this dog to get put down due to stuff that isn't even her fault. And so I decided to take her as a foster. And basically, I worked with her and things were very successful. She was able to find an amazing home. But during that time of me working for her, I didn't really have, I didn't have money to put towards a dog that wasn't mine. I already have 3 dogs. And I was, broke. I was working on gaining money at the time so that I could invest that into my business. But my clients were so supportive. During that time, they learned about what I was doing and they showed an interest in helping. So my clients would come for their lesson and they'd bring a bag of dog food for me. And they would know I was going to a vet appointment, and then they would call and pay the vet bill for things or help me with paying to take her to the groomer. And it was so helpful because it allowed me to just focus on this dog that I was trying to help during that time. And so basically the combination of the needs that I was hearing from the shelter and from others in the community and the overwhelming support that I was receiving from even just my clients, who were mostly the people that knew about this at the time, clients and friends, that there was a need for a training-based rescue organization in the area. And so I learned so much. This was, again, I was only about a year or a little over a year into having my business when I started to do this. And the volunteer work that I did, working with dogs like Ohana was my first foster for this organization, gave me the experience that I feel like I wouldn't have had otherwise that early on with my career. It pushed me to learn, it pushed me to be a better trainer, a better person, and helped connect me a lot with the community. It also reignited my passion for my business, is that I have such a passion for keeping dogs in their homes. I wanted to do my very best as much as I could to prevent dogs from ending up in this type of situation where they needed someone like me to come and rescue and be their savior in this situation. I wanted not just the dog to get what they needed, but I wanted humans to be able to have a good relationship so that they could enjoy that. And so that was a big passion for mine. And after seeing how successful some of my foster dogs were doing for their training with me and how well it was going finding homes for them, I thought it was a good idea for my business to work on diversifying the services that I was offering. So I had just been doing private lessons at this time. And basically I decided maybe I should offer some board and train services. Maybe I should do some day trading services and see how that goes. And so I did. And it took off basically immediately. It's something that went very well. And the dogs were doing really great. And soon after a few months, all of a sudden, I had the problem again. I was overwhelmed again. And so people were calling me trying to get into training. And I was having to tell people, well, they want to book a consultation so they can meet with me. I can assess their dogs, their needs, and I can make a recommendation for training. And I was booked out 4 to 6 weeks to even meet them and their dog before I could even try to assess them for training. And then for my board and train and day training programs, I was booked out a minimum of 2 to 3 months at a time. And for my private lessons program, there wasn't even a real good time period. It was just a wait list that you got put onto and I was pulling you off of. And so I was really excited that things were going so well, that there was this great need for me to be doing this, but I felt like time was one of my most finite resources, and I really wanted to be able to help all these people, and I wanted to be able to expand my business. So I hired someone. And I hired my first person in February of 2020. Isn't that a fantastic time for a small business to be having their first employee that they bring on to? So that was scary. Things were going really great. I was able to kind of divide some of my workload between her and I. And then again, instead of feeling so overwhelmed again, I had a little bit of room for growth. And that lasted for about a month and a half. And then all of a sudden COVID happened. And I had to shut my business down temporarily because I had to figure out, what am I going to do? I want to make sure I stay safe, my staff stay safe, and I want to make sure my clients stay safe. But I want to be able to continue to offer training to these people and to their dogs, but I need to figure out how to do that because my current business model is not going to work for accomplishing that. So we had to get creative and adaptive, and switched entirely to doing virtual appointments for training. So my clients we're doing virtual consultations, virtual private lessons via Zoom, talking via phone and giving reports that way. I was doing some in-person appointments and lessons, but they were very distant. They were outside entirely. They were double masked and they were wearing gloves. So I'm sure I looked very crazy doing that, but we were willing to do anything to make everyone sure that they felt safe and to be able to find a way to keep this business going. As far as my board and train and day training programs, again, this was in my home still at the time. So when clients were dropping off, like day training is a drop off in the morning, pick up in the evening program. And so in order for that to work, that involves a lot of contact with someone. So I ended up utilizing my garage. I set up 2 crates in the garage. I had clients pull in, they'd put their dog in, they'd shut the door, and they would call me. I would go and grab their dog, and then I would disinfect the entire space. And I was doing this every morning and the evening. Same thing for pickup. They would text me. They'd say, hey, I'm here. I would come bring their dog out into the crate. They would go grab them. And we just made it work. We made it work for what we had to do in order to continue operating during that time and adapting. And how many of you guys got a dog during the pandemic? Okay, so we have... Congratulations. During the pandemic, from my experience, I almost felt even more overwhelmed with how many inquiries I was getting because so many people were getting dogs. So many people were like, okay, this is going to last a few weeks. This is a perfect time for me to go and get a dog, start potty training, spending time or bonding with them. And then it just kept going on and on and on. And suddenly they realized, oh my gosh, I have to train these dogs. And so then I was getting a bunch of inquiries from all these pandemic puppies trying to get in for training, and they're totally overwhelmed with that. And then even the dogs that maybe weren't getting in for training immediately, people were really scared. They weren't really seeing anyone. They didn't really feel comfortable doing training at that time. I also had a lot of those towards the later end where people were coming in with their dogs that were very under-socialized. They tried to leave for work when things started to open up a little bit, and their dog destroyed their house because they had separation anxiety. There's a lot of behavioral issues that popped up just due to a lot of people feeling like they didn't have access to training during the pandemic. And so we were very busy with all of those dogs as well. So I grew my staff more during that time. I hired a couple more people. We kept really busy taking care of all those dogs. And things started to feel really, really cramped because at this point I have 3 other staff. We're operating in my home. We're offering all these different services. And it's like, oh my gosh, my work-life balance, 0. Wasn't great. At this point, I had been working about 7 days a week for years with very little time off. I was exhausted, but I had this passion because I still really loved what I was doing. I loved working with the animals, and I knew it was going to pay off at some point. And so at this point, I had accrued also some money that I was able to put aside towards investing towards the business, where I was able to have a sublease for our next facility space. So we moved into a facility that was owned by another dog business, and we rented some of their kennels. We utilized the space, and I got a little bit of a break from having dogs in my home constantly, but also we had a little bit more room to grow, and there was a lot of value to it because people were driving by and they were seeing us. So now we had more ways of generating leads for our training business. And I was able to start imagining how I could build this on a larger scale. But we were only there about 7 months because I felt like we had already outgrown it at that time. It was feeling really cramped again. And so we moved into our current space where we are on East 3rd Street. It's a beautiful 4,700 square foot training facility. And my staff has grown to 12 staff that are under me right now. And so we are currently in a situation where we're working on it. We actually have the opportunity to grow a little bit into our space, which is good because we're going to be here for our leases for at least 3 years. So we have some time to do that. And then we can kind of decide as we go on if we want to continue to look to building a space or moving on to kind of what the next stage is for my business. Up until, so the first 3.5 years for my business, I didn't take out any loans. I used the money that I made from my business and I kept reinvesting it. I paid my bills and then I kept using that to invest in new equipment, leashes, treats, nice kennels, crates, all these different things. I even started offering like retail stuff for my clients. And it was only this year that I actually took out any loans because I wanted to do a very huge advancement where I would have some room to grow, that I took out so I could hire a contractor and do construction on our new space and build beautiful kennels I'll be able to have for years. So I was able to, I was at a point where I was able to actually invest in this business even more so. And the payoff has been really big for being able to do that. I've learned a lot from my experience. Being a business owner is really, really hard, but it's rewarding. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with being a business owner, such as I'm sure a lot of you know that ultimately the buck stops with you. As a business owner, when someone isn't there, they don't show up, you have to either be in charge of making sure that that work gets covered or that you're going to go and show up. There have been a number of times that I've gone in and done a 6 a.m. kennel assistant shift at different times because that's what was needed. And you kind of have to do that as a business owner. You have to be able to cover these different areas if stuff comes up. There's lots of very long hours. I had long hours for years. There's lots of stress that comes with having to navigate a global pandemic that can happen, and fluctuations in the economy, as well as just managing staff and making sure that you're able to keep not just the business growing and successful, but that you're able to pay all of your staff and keep everyone happy. But while it's very challenging, rewards take time, they're worth the wait when you get to do what you love. I know for me, I absolutely love what I do. It's a huge passion of mine, so I very much enjoy it. Dogs can provide so much comfort to us and can be just make your day so much better. While I definitely love petting with my dogs and hanging out with them, but I also work with a number of dogs that can have a lot of behavioral issues, but guess what? I love working with them too. To me, it's very rewarding helping them. And now I'm at a point with my business a little over 4 years in where I can actually work a 5-day work week. And it's fantastic. And I can take trips and I don't have to plan them out 4 months or more in advance. I can actually just go and do that if I want to, because I can trust that my staff are going to be able to take care of things. I can support having a baby. So I'm having a baby this winter. This is something that I've wanted to do, but I felt like for me, I wasn't going to be able to focus on doing that because I was going to be so stressed about it. But now I feel like things are more stable for my business. My staff are trained up enough that I feel like I'm able to kind of step away a little bit to focus on other areas in my life that are important to me. And so that's been a huge relief. I've had a lot of opportunities that have come from my business, getting into dog training. Like, I don't know if you guys watch America's Top Dog. I was invited to be on season 3, episode 3 of that. So check that out if you like. I have learned a lot over the past 4+ years. When you're on your own, you have to do it all, but with enough time, effort, and luck, you can reach a place where you have a team you can count on and can start to give attention to other areas in your life. One of the keys to my growth was making sure I reinvested as much as I could back into my business. This set me up for success and gave me the resources I needed to pick up momentum and grow here in Bloomington. For everyone out there, everyone who is trying to take their side hustle and make it into something more, just remember that there's no one way to do this, and there's no one timeline for achieving those goals. Find something you're passionate about, give it your all, Reinvest what you can, be ready for your turning point moment, be adaptable, and stay patient. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm just going to point because I don't know all of you quite yet. In the back, in the yellow shirt.
Again, what's the name of your business and where are you located?
The name of my business is Mutts Training LLC. I'm at 4001 East 3rd Street, and I brought business cards so I can get that to you today. Next to you.
I'm sorry, I still didn't get the name of your business. And also, where did you get your training?
Okay, yeah, my name is Mannard. Not my name. My name is Jillian. My business's name is Mannard Mutts Training LLC. And that's a great question. I actually went to a very intensive dog training program where I went to Missouri and lived there for 6 months. And I was doing schooling and working with clients for 5 days a week when I was there, learning how to do evaluations, learning how to train and work on both behavioral training as well as high-level obedience and how to work on like competition obedience, a number of different things. And I was also doing like leading group classes and stuff over the weekend. So it got us involved, like helping me prepare a lot for some of these challenges with owning a dog training business. And also just experience. It's something that I have always, even before I started the rescue, Mannard Mutts Rescue, that I am the executive director and founder of. I also have always been involved in fostering and volunteering with animal rescue for a very long time. I've always had dogs, so there's been some experience that is also built there. Thanks for your question. Over here.
I'm guessing you didn't find 12 people that knew what you knew, so I want to train your staff. See what they do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the positions that I have a few full-time dog trainers that I have working for me. Some of those staff, so basically everyone that I hired has had some level of experience or education either from dog training school or that they had proved doing a lot of self-based work that they did, learning how to work with the dogs. And then some of them had more experience than others and needed more guidance on stuff, but everyone that is basically newer to the business is going to get close guidance, working with myself or one of my other staff, helping them, making sure that we're doing stuff in a fairly consistent way and that everyone understands the reasons behind what it is that we are doing. But I also have kennel assistants. So some of my staff are kennel assistants that they'll come in and they're going to be doing enrichments with my boarding dogs. They're going to be doing kennel cleaning, sweeping, mopping the place, keeping everything clean. And then I also have a couple administrative assistants that work for me to help navigate responding to clients and doing all of that. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that.
First of all, congratulations on your determination and success. I'm just curious if you also offer training for therapy dogs and or service animals.
So, do I need to repeat that too? Okay, so the question is whether or not I offer specialized training for therapy dogs and for service dogs. That's a great question. I have worked with some clients on helping their dog with their certification, with getting their therapy dog title. So I'm very aware of the different criteria that comes with that. And that's this thing that I talk to clients about fairly regularly on like kind of the steps and what they need to do to be able to be prepared to go through an organization to get that type of title and go through that type of work. As far as service dog work, I focus a lot on behavior mod work. I would say that's kind of what I generally focus on, but I do have some service dog clients that I'll take. I'm very specific about what it is though, because I feel like that's an area I'm still working on growing in, but definitely there's certain types of tasks and stuff that I've helped and trained a number of my clients on, but I don't necessarily cover everything across the board as far as service training.
So I hear you have the passion over and over again, that's exciting, but where did you get that passion? Did you go up and down dogs, or where did all that come from?
So the question is, where did I get my passion for working with dogs? It's something I've always really, really loved animals. I've always had animals since I was a kid growing up. But I think that one of the biggest ways that I started to get very passionate about working with animals in general in a training sense, as well as for the rescue, has been when I was stepping in, like when I did my undergrad in Tampa, Florida. There was a high kill shelter near me. I ended up adopting one of my dogs from there, but I fostered a number of cats and dogs from that shelter. And I think just seeing so many animals that are constantly in need and that are needing to have voices for them and to try to help them, that it just kind of, and getting involved with volunteer work, especially during my undergrad, helped really ignite a passion for trying to be a voice and helping animals, not just with staying in their homes, but helping them to get out of those shelters as well.
We just go one more.
Congratulations, and I know that there's a need, and you certainly are helping to fill that need in this community. If you talk a little bit about the financing that you had to do, you said you didn't take out a loan until this year. How did you determine your the rates that you offer in your various services, and did you have to learn how to do that?
So the question is, I don't remember the first part of the question. The second part of the question was, how did I determine the rates that I offer for my business? And I guess when I knew I needed to get a loan, was that the question? Okay. Yeah, so I knew that I needed a loan this year when I was looking to expand kind of beyond the money that I had been able to set aside. I was able to invest some money into the business and some of my new projects, but this is a fairly expensive project going into this, having to spend upwards of $70,000+ towards my new facility, getting that renovated, being able to upgrade and handle having a bunch of new staff. So that's something that I knew that earlier on, while I was going to need to have a period of time to adjust to that growth, I was going to need to have some loans in place to kind of help me to be able to, I needed to have some help so that I could be able to get to the growth that I wanted to, somewhere that I could tell that I was going to be meeting that, because my overhead costs were going to be a lot higher at that time. As far as the prices for my services, I think a few different things have come to that. One of the first things is that when I first started, my rates were really low, I would say, because I was trying to be very competitive and I didn't have a lot of experience. And so rates were comparable, but maybe on the lower end of some of my competitors at the time. And then as I was feeling like I was gaining more experience, I was able to handle harder dogs. I was starting to increase those rates a bit. And then at some point, every time I felt like I was booking out incredibly far and I felt like I can't take on any more clients, that was a sign to me. Everyone's telling you have to raise your rates then. So I just kept raising it a little bit at a time, fairly consistently over the years, just due to demand. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Jillian. That was really fantastic. And I have to say, I teach entrepreneurship, and you are a fantastic model of an entrepreneur. Really spectacular. Yeah. So many things I'd love you to come and talk to my class about. Really very interesting. So to honor your presentation, we will make a contribution to the New Hope for Families organization in town here in Bloomington, another great organization, founded in 2011. It's an emergency housing solution for Monroe County that keeps families together, including families with adults and children of all ages and any composition. So thank you for your inspiring talk, and thank you to New Hope Families for what they do as well. So next week's meeting, we will be meeting here again in the Frangipani room with our very own Lance Eberly. He'll be here, our district governor. He'll be talking with us about what's happening in the district. And he's going to be consulting with the board at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to invite the Bloomington Rotary Club board to join us here at 11 o'clock in anticipation of the meeting at 12. So Lance will be with us next week. And with that, let's have the four-way test, Michael. That's right there in front of us. So please join me in reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? Thank you all so much, and we'll see you again next week. And for those who are guests here, please come back sometime soon. Thank you.